Oh, I didn't push that.
For this week's collection of ideas, I did 5 things this time, and the first thing I did was my novel, because I've been doing that every other week, which I did a dialectical journal and specifically focused on criticism and just kind of talked about what kind of confused me about what the author was doing or what he wasn't doing, and maybe like kind of like answered some of my questions because I could further figure out and like trying to understand it when I was putting the questions out, like with writing. And then the second thing is I did photography and I analyzed angles and shots for meaning. And I had a picture of a young girl, and then there's this giant grizzly bear, and it was like her touching the nose. And I kind of analyzed like how like the shot was, like how far away, different angles, like the lighting, just like in general, like how like the editing techniques or like just taking the picture in general, like how that affects the overall meaning. And I did a poem, which I used TP Cast, and kind of just went into try to further go into detail than I did before with the TP Cast, and try to like figure out things that I like didn't find in the previous one. And for the short story, I did a 4-way response using intellectual curiosity. And so I kind of like I questioned a lot of like it was similar to criticism, but I questioned a lot of what the author was doing or like what the meaning was behind what they were choosing to put in the story. And I kind of just focused on like those small things, just like different questions that maybe weren't extremely important questions, but they did overall affect the piece in general, like in the end. And then for my fifth thing, I did a news story where I analyzed the news story and like kind of the purpose behind it. And so I kind of like I talked about like why the author did what they did. I didn't ask questions. I didn't question it all, but like I talked about why the author chose specific storylines and he chose a specific purpose or message and like which way he was going with it, because there could be a different way that they went with it. But overall, I think this week I think this week was one of my like a group of my best sources, and I feel like all of my sources I'll use within my research paper. And I feel that like the sources, it was easier to go into depth, and it was more of kind of analyzing. A lot of it was the criticism of the author and why they were choosing to do the things that they did, but also kind of like relaying that back to my overall theme.